I want to bring up the elephant in the room, though, and that's Herb Dean. that's the eye poke central that went down. It's every week that we're talking about eye pokes, and they're back with the old gloves, which I think makes it happen more. But the central tension here is that referees are not following through and taking away points. Dolidze was warned early at the start of round 2 by referee Herb Dean before it started, with Coach Nickstick there to just sort of say, look, this is not going to be allowed. You want to do this, which they would talk on the air, like who would do that? Bisping was saying, he's probably right. Either do a fist or whatever, but this is just not going to work. Within the next minute, he poked Vettori in the eye.
Right in the eye.
And was given a softer warning, was given if this happens again, then we're going to be talking about it. There was never a threat of a point in there, and it wasn't the last time that there were fouls between these two. Luke, and I think this is aligned, by the way, with Steve Willis's performance in the Gervonta Davis fight. I think it's an overall groupthink by the commissions that they don't want to become part of the story. But by not becoming part of the story, they're becoming part of the story. This cannot be where there's 8 or 9 referees that are all getting it wrong. This seems institutionalized, doesn't it?
Long Island
doesn't
Luke,
it, though?
To this point, Long Island Luke, top of your head. Don't give me a random one. I'm going to ask in a very specific way. What was the last time you can remember a referee in MMA taking a point from a fighter for an eye poke?
Fuck, man.
Right. Right.
I don't know, but wait, back to BC's point of the group think thing.
Yeah.
I believe it was the Ryan Spann fight. I could be wrong. There was something like 3 or 4 fouls. It was Mark Smith refereeing.
Yes.
Didn't even consider taking a point in anything. 3 or 4 fouls. It was just ridiculous.
I understand that.
This is not a UFC issue. This is a commission issue.
It's a commission issue. It has nothing to do with UFC. I understand that if you look at the bylaws, it is not legal to poke another fighter in the eye. And I'm here to tell you that practically speaking, it is entirely legal.
Low blows are the same thing, dude.
It is entirely. Somebody show me the proof that if you didn't know anything about MMA and you just watched it, how would you ever know, other than the fact that the referee might say something, but there's no penalty, like nothing? How would you ever know that it was against the rules? You might stop it because it's like an accidental thing where you ever watch 2 teams in South America play soccer and then like a dog shows up on the field and they have to pause the game and get rid. That's how they treat eye pokes. It is absolutely illegal on paper. It is practically 100% legal to the point you can do it multiple times in a fight. BC, you can even do it multiple times to your opponent in a round.
Yes.
This is absurd.
As Manel Kopp scraped the eyes of his opponent to set up the finish, not to mention the Cejudo fight, not to mention when Weidman blinded Bruno Silva, and on and on. It's going to be weapon. So I want to say, what's the thing that's going to finally make him the change? And it's going to be a serious injury to an elite fighter that can't fight anymore because of it. But is there anything else that could make it change? What about if teams start actually weaponizing this? Meaning it's the end of the second round. You realize you're on your way to being down 0-2 in a 3-round fight.
Fuck out of
What's the first thing you're going to do? Kick him in the nuts to get a stoppage so you can get some rest time and regroup and start to build the momentum in your favor through fouling. And I know that we romanticize guys like Bernard Hopkins in boxing who have almost like a John Stockton in the NBA. They've learned how to weaponize cheating in such a smart way that we applaud them for it, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing, I guess, maybe when you look back at the pitchers in the 70s and 80s who would always have Green. Something illegal and, something illegal that they can use to pitch, and we'd be like, well, they're smarter than everybody else. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. But, dude, it's going to set up strategic cheating on a regular basis if this doesn't get snipped. And for as much as we rail UFC, it's not a UFC issue. I would like Dana to be more vocal about it against it, because I feel like his voice can lead to change, because we do assume at the end of the day that a lot of these state commissions can be swayed by money or the possibility of money. I don't mean direct bribes. I mean, we got to keep these promoters happy so they bring their big fights to our state. If you don't think that's part of MMA right now, you're not reading the MMA draw about all these government contracts and how these cities are like, we need you, TKO. Come bring your whole circus the whole weekend. We got to drive up tourism and all that stuff. But it's bad. But in this case, do you think this affected Vettori enough to say that if those fouls hadn't happened, maybe it's a different fight?
Even if he had taken a point based on the way the judges went, it still would have been Dolidze that won, so it wouldn't have affected the outcome per se, at least in this particular case. Although, again, hard to know what would happen if you take a foul and blah, blah, blah. But I just feel like this is, I feel like I remember when Anthony, rest in peace, Rumble Johnson, got poked in the eye. Here we go. Here's how fucking old I am. By Kevin the Fire Burns.
Wow.
Right? He gets poked in the eye, and it's a terrible fucking eye poke. They have to, I believe they did a rematch, and then, at that point, Rumble dispatched him viciously. But, like, the point I'm trying to make is, can you look up when their first fight was, Long Island Luke?
He has the internet.
The first Kevin the Fire Burns and Rumble Johnson fight. The point I'm trying to make is we have literally, at best, made no improvements at all since then. And this is the part, like, again, you're right. It's not a UFC issue. You're 100% right. It's a commission issue.
It was July of 2008.
This is what the fuck I'm talking about, dude. We're almost 20 years later. What the hell is happening? But this is what I wanted to say. I remember after every single UFC event when Dana White wanted Steve Mazzagatti gone, and he would go to fucking town on him. And I'm not even saying that's necessarily fair. Mazzagatti was not a good ref. I don't know if he deserved exactly the treatment that he got.
Yamasaki got it hard too.
Who?
Mario Yamasaki.
Yeah,
he got
did.
run out too.
He did.
Basically.
But although his brother still does reffing when they go back to the
and he brought this into our lives, didn't he?
Yeah, he did the heart. Yeah, Tukey does that too. So don't hate on that.
Oh yeah.
But what I wanted to say was, I remember what an effect it had when Dana did it accumulatively. I guess I don't understand why he doesn't do it, other than does he just not consider it to be a problem? Do the people in charge, like we're here talking about it like it's a huge problem. I don't know what the evidence is that the people in charge consider it a problem, and that by itself is a problem.
I think that they just want to not be part of our shows the next Monday of like, oh my God, did you see Herb Dean took away a point? If he wouldn't have taken that away, this fight could have been whatever. But they're getting the opposite.